It's the Age Has No Limit podcast. We're here to show and prove that your age shouldn't prevent you from designing and living the life you want. I'm your host, Patrice Davis. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Age Has No Limit podcast. This week, my guest is Bob Koleszarik. So Bob is a recent empty nester who started living in his RV until he decided on where he wanted to live. He keeps himself busy while on the road. He's the owner of a small business, a coach and energy healer, an operations manager for the American Pranic Healing Association, and host of the podcast Greetings From the Ashram that streams live on Bold Brave TV. So I definitely want to learn more about that, Bob. Bob's coaching approach is grounded in a holistic perspective that integrates the principles of life coaching, Arhatic Yoga, and pranic healing. So I've never heard of that, Bob. I've heard of the different types of healing methods. I just hadn't heard of a coach that integrated the three. And so I'm really, really eager to learn more about how you've been able to do that. And of course, how you're able to help your clients. So Bob, welcome to the Age Has No Limit podcast.
Thank you, Patrice. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, great. So what should the audience know about Bob Koleszarik, the person, the man, the dad, and now the empty nester?
It's been a road to get to where I am, but as a person, I've always been a kind person. I was in the elevator business for 30 years, doing project management, living a very stressful life like most people, just on the go and just doing the best that you can, raising a family. I am twice divorced, which I'm not necessarily proud of. But these things happen. And my second divorce led me onto the spiritual path that I am now. So, I wasn't always the best at being there as a dad because there was so much struggles with the wives and the work and the stress. And I probably wasn't there in a calm place where I needed to be, honestly, with the kids. But we're much better placed now with the healing and the coaching that I've done with them. But yeah, I've grown over the last 5 years down the spiritual path that really, we're modern day yogis is what we do in the Arhatic Yoga. And I can get to that in a little bit, but that's very transformative. And it's transformed me as a person, who I am today, which is really a loving and kind person. That's one of the tenements of pranic healing and Arhatic Yoga is to interact and try to inject loving kindness into every interaction that we have. I mean, that is the goal, and that's what we try to achieve. So that's really who I am as a person these days. And the empty nester thing is it's interesting. I took to it very well. It hasn't been that long. My son moved out, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months ago. And I had physical and legal custody of my kids since the time my daughter went into high school. She's 27 now. So my son's 25. But when they left, it wasn't like a big shock to me. It's like, it's the first time in 30 years that I'm only by myself. I only have to worry about myself. And that is very freeing and liberating, So they're both doing really well. And I think since I've been on the road, I haven't been on the road that long. It's only been a couple of weeks, but I already could tell that the communication with the kids has really improved. And we chat more in our little group chat than we have in the past. So, and my daughter called me. She just told me she's proud of me for just living my dream and going out and doing what I want to do. And that's nice because, we can't live our lives sitting around waiting for our kids to show up because my son's moving to North Carolina and my daughter's talking about moving to Virginia Beach. So I'm not going to sit around waiting on them to move, so I got my own thing. And I've just had a really strong call to get into nature. And I was talking about this on my podcast with somebody last night, and that call is real. And it's so important to be in nature, the stillness that comes with it, and just the ability to just be and just be present in what you're doing, and you don't have all those thought forms and all that crazy going on in the world around you. So
Yeah.
it's been very freeing and liberating, and I'm loving it. I love waking up. I'm at Custer, South Dakota right now at elevation 5,300 feet, higher
Wow.
than Denver, in the pine trees, beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. We're having massive heat advisories back in Philadelphia, where I'm from, and it
Yes.
was like 50 degrees last night here,
Yeah.
so it'll be
Yeah.
into the 70s today. So it's a beautiful thing,
Good, good, good. So, that is a great segue to the fact that you are living in your RV. Is that correct? And so now you're in South Dakota.
Yes.
Good, good. So how has that been? And I remember reading, and you said, "Hey, I wanted to figure out exactly where I wanted to settle," because you mentioned, of course, your children have moved out, they've moved on with their lives. You've decided, it didn't make sense to sit waiting for them. So it's your opportunity to go figure out exactly what you want, including where you want to live. Any places on the short list so far?
Well, Florida's always on the short list for old timers like me. So I don't know. It's like the first time in my life that I don't know where I want to be. I know I don't want to be. I'm not from Philadelphia originally. I'm originally from the Chicago area, and I lived in Los Angeles. I lived up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I lived up in the New York City area, and I did spend a lot of time in Philadelphia. But I joke with people. I said I have two ex-wives from the Philadelphia area. There's not enough sage to burn to clear the
That's not enough sage. Okay, that's
to
funny.
burn that negative energy out,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
not a big enough sage stick. So
I know, right? I get it. I get it. I get it. That is too funny. So living in your RV, what would you say has been the most awesome experience? You described, being out in nature and how being in the RVs allowed you to do that. You're like, and also, of course, being mobile, but any like experience, maybe it was a sunset, maybe it was interaction with animals, maybe it was anything that has been like the most awesome experience since you've been in the RV?
I went to see Crazy Horse Memorial, which was really fantastic. When we get into the Arhatic Yoga and all that, it's a deeply spiritual thing. I'm a deeply spiritual person, and with that comes a lot of intuition. And I talk about my guides and how I met my guides when I was like in my 20s, and my main guide presented himself to me as like an Native American elder type guy. So there's some synchronicities and messages that kind of guided me to South Dakota. And this is the home of the Lakota Indians.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Chief Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
And, I'm just kind of vibing with that right now. So I had a beautiful fire last night, and I was just like really tapping into the feeling of it. And I could just feel that presence of past Indian energy, I guess you could say, and it is really fantastic. So there's a reason that I'm here. I don't know exactly why, but I do have a lot of work that I'm doing. So this is kind of home base for the summer, and then I'm going to be heading down through Colorado and visit Nevada, Texas, Arizona's calling.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of places that I'm going to hit on the way.
Okay. Wow. So Arhatic Yoga, never heard of it. So I've practiced vinyasa flow for a number of years, haven't done it recently. And so I know about the different types of physical modes of yoga. And I haven't had a chance yet to find out what Arhatic Yoga is. I'm waiting for you to tell us. So what is Arhatic Yoga?
Arhatic Yoga is a system to allow oneself to achieve oneness with the higher self, essentially. Arhat, it means saints. Yoga means union. So that kind of translates into union with the higher self. And it was a system developed by Grandmaster Choa Koksui, who was a Chinese businessman. But he also included or developed pranic healing, which is a system of energy healing, non-touch energy healing, similar to Reiki. But there's, the basic colors that you use white colors, and then there's advanced system where you use different colors for different protocols, different illnesses that you're treating or healing. And then there's the psychotherapy, and I'm a certified pranic psychotherapist, which deals with emotions and helping people let go of their fears. Just anything emotional based. It's a complete system. So that there's the pranic healing arm and the Arhatic Yoga arm. And the Arhatic Yoga practice, there's a series of breathing exercises that we do. There's inner reflection that we do as part of our daily practice. There's different meditations that we do during the week. There's a Kundalini meditation to awaken the Kundalini safely. There's the Dhyan meditation that we do that just really helps to bring stillness and awareness. There's the meditation on twin hearts. It's twin hearts is your heart chakra and your crown chakra. You activate that. And there's a lot to unpack in that meditation. That's the staple meditation for pranic healers, and it's a beautiful meditation. And then we do what we call the blue pearl, or meditation on the soul. So there's a lot of different, it's a practice. I mean, and like a Kundalini night, that's 2 hour meditation practice, Dhyan, hour and a half. And we practice different virtues, loving kindness and non-injury, moderation, non-excessiveness, generosity and non-lying, things like that. So every couple of months we switch virtues and we focus on the virtues. Like if I'm working on loving kindness, I'm like, okay, what did I do today that I'm not proud of? Where was I not loving and kind? And, I'll just reflect to yesterday when I was dealing with Verizon on the phone. Or on the Verizon chat. If anybody's been doing that, they know that could be highly frustrating, right? So I was not maybe necessarily my kindest self. So at the end of the day, we reflect on that. And then we like, okay, I really kind of blew up. I lost my cool, and I shouldn't have. And then we resolve, okay, how am I going to handle this better the next time? So it's something that we do on a regular basis.
So you just shared a lot that I want to unpack. So some of those words sound very familiar to me. Kundalini, I remember that. And then of course you talked about the different types of meditations, and how you're actually practicing Kundalini meditation for 2 hours at night. Is that every night? That's the first question. And the second question is, for the audience, and to remind me, tell me exactly what Kundalini is.
Well, it's one night a week, one day a week that we do the Kundalini. Now, I'm not an expert on talking about Kundalini, but the circassian symbol, where we got the serpents going up. With the wings. So there's that base energy, the Inga and the Pingala. It's kind of like the opposite coin of the sex energy. It's not necessarily sex energy, but it's kind of like tied into it somehow. And, it's a meditation that tries to get it circulating and going up. And eventually when you awaken the Kundalini, I think that's when you kind of get the self-awareness, the illumination, I guess.
So the Kundalini is that maybe the top level? Tell me what again is Kundalini itself? What is it? Is it a part of? I'll let you explain, because I'm not going to try to figure it out.
Like I said, I'm not a huge expert. It's a very complicated subject for me. But it's like it's an energy that you want to kind of awaken, and it's like at the base of the spine, and you want to just awaken it. I don't know, to answer your question. I practice it. I'm still learning. It's there's so much to unpack in the whole practice, and I am not an expert on Kundalini, but I do practice the meditation regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, pranic healing. So for those of you who practice yoga, you're probably familiar with the word pranayama, and that's what I was reminded of when I read that you practice pranic healing. So, and of course, for those of you who aren't sure of what pranayama itself is, it's a breathing practice that's usually encouraged, or usually actually a part of a yoga practice. So let me know if I'm on the basically on the right path, and if not, just please shed some light on exactly what is pranic healing and how it helps your clients.
prana is a Sanskrit word meaning life force,
Mm-hmm.
like chi or ki, or
Mm-hmm.
so pranic healing is it's energy healing. So
Mm-hmm.
we kind of channel the prana
Mm-hmm.
and direct it to individual
Mm-hmm.
their chakra system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And pranic healing, we recognize 11 chakras. Reiki recognizes 7,
Mm-hmm.
but the different chakras correspond to different physical
Mm-hmm.
aspects of the body. Like your navel is your intestines, your solar plexus or your internal organs. Your heart is your heart,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So um, it's also physical or emotional. So your chakras could, have emotional impacts as
Mm-hmm.
well. So like if you're stressed out, you can't communicate well. Your throat chakra
Mm-hmm.
um, might be shut down or congested, or so.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of cleaning and balancing the chakras.
Mm-hmm.
And to answer your question about how does that help the clients in like my coaching
Mm-hmm.
business, a lot of people get stuck with fear.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
get past traumas that
Yeah.
they're dealing with, and they can't get their heads straight because they're just always like stuck in the trauma. So
Yeah.
in pranic healing, and being a pranic psychotherapist, which like takes 3 years of certifications to get to that point. So it's a high
Mm-hmm.
level healing
Mm-hmm.
certification, but we can help people to eliminate those fears. We have the tools to disintegrate negative thought forms that keep reoccurring. We have, eliminate the grief and whatever's holding you back. And that what I have found with the trauma that, I had with my divorce, because when I divorced, separated from my second wife, it was like 2-3 weeks later, she found out she was terminally ill, and she wanted me to stay with her,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
was just such a bad situation that I left, and it was the pranic healing that helped me to gain clarity,
Mm-hmm.
to know that this is the right decision, and then also the coaching and the pranic healing. When I learned that, it really helped my kids just get better so much faster.
Mm.
And
Okay.
it's so powerful, and it's the fastest growing healing modality, complementary healing modality in the world today. It's
Mm.
in over 120 countries. It's probably the biggest healing modality that nobody's ever heard of, like
Yeah.
you've never heard of it, but
Mhm.
it's growing leaps and bounds. And like I said, it's over 120 countries, and that's Arhatic Yoga. It normally goes along with pranic healing. You don't have to be a yogi to do
Mhm.
pranic healing, but it certainly helps.
Yeah, yeah. So you are I kept thinking, was this an arhatic or a arhatic? But you are an arhatic yogi. You are a transformational healer. And of course, and I'm assuming that the transformational healing is a result of the pranic healing. But then also, I think you mentioned that you are a psychotherapist. Tell me again exactly what kind. That's the first part of that question. And the second part is, tell us a little bit about what qualifies you to be all three. So what qualifies you to be, an Arhatic yogi and some of the other things that you mentioned? What are the, like you said, a three-year certification for the psychotherapist, but then what are some of the other ways that you prepared yourself to be able to help other people?
When I was going through my stuff, I
Mm,
my son was suicidal at the time.
mm,
This was back in 2018. I didn't know how to help him, so
mm,
we went to a Tony Robbins event.
mm-hmm,
Like he wasn't even living with us; he was living with his friends. It got to that point, and
mm-hmm,
so we went to a Tony Robbins event, and I found out about pranic healing
mm-hmm,
because Master Stephen Coe was there as a presenter, and I'm like,
mm-hmm,
oh, this is why I'm here. So coming out of that, I
mm-hmm,
think maybe I need a coach myself, and then I
mm-hmm,
said, you know what? Why don't I just learn the techniques to
mm-hmm.
be the coach?
Yeah,
To
yeah.
that way I can, help myself and
Mm-hmm,
my kids. That it started just for personal things. So,
mm-hmm,
but to become a pranic healer, there's workshops that you take. There's the basic 1 level workshop where you learn
mm-hmm,
about the energy body. You learn
mm-hmm,
how to scan energy and feel energy because you can
mm-hmm,
feel it when
mm-hmm,
you sensitize and practice it.
mm-hmm.
And then there's the, you know, different workshops, the advanced workshop and the pranic or psychotherapy workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So you take those 3 workshops, and then that is the prerequisite to become an Arhatic Yogi.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a Arhatic prep that you would take, and then there's different levels as you go on. So you have to learn the energy body, because when you get into Arhatic Yoga, then you start realizing that, I'm not the body, I am the soul, and the body is just the instrument and the temple of the Spirit, Holy Spirit, as it says in the Bible, but it houses the soul, which is who we truly are.
Yeah.
And once you get to that understanding that we're a soul with a body,
exactly,
and not a body with the soul, that starts to be a big shift. And when you start to do that and start doing the inner work and start aligning with yourself, that's where the transformation comes in, when you start really like, okay, I am the soul, and I'm starting to align with my mission and purpose in life. And that's what happens, because that's what happened with me with the coaching business, which is aligned spiritually, and with the healing, which is I don't really think people should do coaching without healing, or some people need that healing. Maybe not everybody, but then the American Pranic Healing Association work kind of lined up, which the association is to bring about pranic healing as a profession. We want to be recognized by the medical community as complementary healing. We're not saying like in lieu of medical doctors, but complementary too. In India, they have pranic healing departments in hospitals.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
So we want to do that here. And then my show, the podcast, came out, and these are things that the universe just aligns. I wasn't looking for it, and Bold Brave TV contacted me to do a show on complementary healing and spirituality. So everything that I'm doing is aligned with my mission, which is to help raise the consciousness of the planet in some small way. And that's kind of a lot of the guests that I have on my show. They're healers and leaders in the spiritual community and different modalities. I'm open to talking about it all, because not everybody's going to resonate with me, but they might find something that resonates with them. So, that's the purpose of the show. But yeah, that's how you get into the pranic healing, doing the workshops, and then the Arhatic Yoga, making those prerequisites, doing the Arhatic prep, and then the practice. You have to put the work in. Some people do the Arhatic prep and they don't make that time, but that time is doing the work is essential.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I believe you said it was a 3-year program to become the psychotherapist that you are. Please tell me again, what kind of psychotherapist, and how would you say that has helped you become, a great coach? Because I can imagine, again, the fusion of the 3 approaches, and how that must be very helpful for your clients. But I'm curious to know about if you can clarify for me again, what kind of psychotherapy and how the 3 fuse together to really deliver just an amazing healing experience for your clients.
Well, it's pranic psychotherapy. So pranic psychotherapist. And the first phase is to become certified as an associate pranic healer. That's the first step, where there's 25 cases that you need to do. You work with a mentor. All your cases are signed off by a mentor, and then Master Glenn Mendoza, MD, medical doctor, retired, but he's my teacher essentially. So you do that. That's like a year long, and then the next certification is to be a certified pranic healer, where you have simple cases, you have complex cases, and then psychotherapy cases, and people with emotional issues, suicidal people, addictions, traumas, fears, griefs, everything. So we work on those cases, and these cases have to be documented with feedback from the clients, so that you can't just like make up stuff. So we do our scanning sheets. So we scan all the chakras and before and after, and we see how the improvement goes. So that's how we track, plus with the feedback. And then the third certification is this pranic psychotherapy, which is all psychotherapy cases. Typically 50 cases in a year's time, which is a lot. It's a lot. And It's hard work, but it's very rewarding work. And sometimes when you're healing people, you kind of take on some of their stuff
Yeah.
because you're energetically connected. So you got to be careful. It could be a little bit emotionally demanding as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's quite a structure in place, and it's all documented
Mhm.
successful cases.
I want to remind the audience is that Bob is the operations manager. Remember, I said that at the top of the show. He's also the operations manager for the American Pranic Healing Association. So Bob knows the practice, right? He knows the process, right? And he also apparently knows the goals of the association, especially in his role as an operations manager. So he's really embedded in this practice and embedded in this world. And so I do also want to let you all know where you can find out more about Bob so that if you want to take advantage of this great opportunity to have a free discovery call, you can visit selfhelpcoachingllc.com. So that's where you can go find out more about Bob, about, the pranic healing that he's able to integrate into the coaching experience. The reason why he has the name selfhelpcoachingllc.com is because he actually practices or helps with or provides self-help coaching. And in just a few minutes, we're going to find out what the difference is between self-help coaching and some of the other coaching practices that many of us may be familiar with. So, Bob, you had something on your website that really piqued my interest, and I intentionally didn't read the response, but I saw the question, and so we're going to dump into that now. Is how is self-help coaching different from other coaching services? So I would love to hear you just provide some insight on that.
Well, first of all, it's self-help coaching. When I was coming up with the name, this was like five plus years ago. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's very generic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, but the self
Mm-hmm.
really resonates with me. I'm like, what is the self?
Mm-hmm.
Who is the self? The
Mm-hmm.
self is really the soul,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's who
Mm-hmm.
we are. We're the soul. And
Yeah.
what is the goal of the soul?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
to evolve, it's to learn and to grow. And when
Yeah.
you learn and to grow, then you become more fulfilled. So,
Mm-hmm.
self is really an acronym for spiritual evolution leading to fulfillment.
Oh, I like it. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's a deeper level of understanding. So the work that I do is all about the self. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about the soul. It's all about the inner work that we need to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
And once we get into, shutting out the noise of the outside world and just control the forces that we can control, the internal forces that we can
Mm-hmm.
control, we're going to do much better. The Stoic philosophers and quality of our life is based on the quality of our thoughts and our emotions. That's how we interpret and see the world. But people
Mm-hmm.
get stuck and they just can't slow their minds down. They can't stop that stress. So the meditation practice helps with that stillness and awareness. And
Mm-hmm.
once you start be able to get in control of the stillness and the awareness,
Mm-hmm.
if you have limiting beliefs, you have sabotaging behaviors, you have old programs,
Mm-hmm.
um, we help to eliminate that. And the psychotherapy and the pranic psychotherapy helps with that. We can disintegrate negative thought forms, and it expedites the healing process and allow you to move forward faster.
Mm-hmm.
So once that happens, then we create that vision of the life that you want in all the different areas that you want, and just set goals based on what you want to do with your life. But you want to be still, and you want to be aware, and you want to be present
Mm-hmm.
every day. So then you allow the universe to work. You have that vision in your mind, and you set your goals and what you want to do, and you be present. But then the magic starts to happen, where
Mm-hmm.
things start to flow to you and come into your existence
Mm-hmm.
to help you along with where you want to go with the vision that you have for your life. And that's been my experience with the Pranic Healing Association.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't looking to do that work, but some
Mm-hmm.
synchronicities lined out. And so I've been doing that.
Mm-hmm.
The show kind of just flew in, but everything is aligned with my mission and my soul work, which is to promote pranic healing, Arhatic Yoga, and spirituality, and help people to transform and find their true purpose in life. A lot of people are looking for that.
there are two things that I'd love to back up on. So you mentioned just a few minutes ago that many of us need to remember that we are a soul with a body, not a body with a soul. Once I learned that just in the last year, it just really blew my mind because I started thinking about, like you said, who we are is truly our soul. There was a book I read, I don't remember the name of the book. I've been doing quite a bit of reading recently that pointed out that our soul isn't necessarily encapsulated in our physical body. Our soul extends beyond us. We don't know exactly how far out, but it helps us understand why, as we're approaching a house sometimes or approaching somewhere, something doesn't feel right. We can sense that. At least for me, that's my understanding of it.
Absolutely.
So there's certain things we can sense because it's almost like the soul is not, again, it's not within our physical body. It's around us. How far out? I don't know, but it explains a lot of things, or helps explain quite a few things in terms of what people were able to accomplish as humans before we became highly distracted by TV and all the things. So that's one thing. And then the second thing that I wanted to pick back up on was when you said that self-help coaching really helps the person focus on how they themselves can be a part of the coaching the solution that they're looking for. Sometimes when we hear about coaching services, we think the person's coming to deliver the solution, when in fact, as a self-help coach, you're already making it clear this is something that's driven primarily by you, and you're just tugging at certain things to help them along the way. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, my goal is to get you on your path as quickly as possible, because you may not want to follow my modality. I highly recommend it, but at some point you're going to okay, let's take off the training wheels, and then you're going to find your own rhythm, what you want to do, and it might not be in the healing path, whatever it is that you want to do with your life, but get you the tools to get that stillness, get that awareness, get those goals set, get rid of those limiting beliefs and old programs and all that. So like an example of an old program, I'll show an example for myself. When I was being asked to do this show, I'm like, no, I'm not good enough. I'm not, there's other people that's better than me. Who cares what I have to say? And these are just programs. And I could trace it back to when I was in my 20s. I'm turning 60 this year, and so we carry these programs and these negative thoughts and beliefs with us for a long time. So we got to get rid of those, because there's fear involved, and success and liberation comes on the other side of that fear once you work through it.
Absolutely. So what would you say has been the biggest aha moment for any, like if it's one particular client, or maybe you see the same thing, maybe there's a trend that you're noticing, but what is the aha moment that you've noticed for either one or more of your clients?
Well, the one thing that most people get trapped up on is they're self-identifying. I'm a mom, I'm a worker bee, I'm a dad, I'm a husband or a wife, and that's it.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great point. Wow. The labels and the way we limit ourselves with the labels. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I have clients and they're like, what, you mean I can dream big? Yeah, you could dream big, and who are you? I've been through all these exercises. I was the same way. I'm like, but where's the fun guy? Where's the Bobby Bahama guy? Where's that
I love that,
beach loving guy?
Yeah.
And start creating these better identities for ourselves. I would self-identify. I have type 2 diabetes. Say I'm a diabetic. I'm like, you know what? I had a aha moment myself. That's a terrible way to self-identify. I identify as rich and famous spiritual influencer, philanthropist, playboy.
Yeah. Playboy at the end. Yeah. Okay. Got it. I love it. So yeah, you know what? I never thought about when a person goes around saying, I'm a diabetic. You're just constantly claiming what that is rather than something more. Maybe I'm currently ill with diabetes or something, or maybe I'm not even sure if that's.
Currently, I have it. It doesn't define who I am.
Yeah.
But that's powerful. And then, people have those aha moments like, man, I am really not self-identifying well. Because we create our own life. We create our existence with what we think, thoughts, feelings, and our emotions and our actions. And it's a big paradigm shift.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, in addition to being a transformational healer, an Arhatic Yogi, and of course, a pranic psychotherapist, you're also a small business owner outside of your coaching business. It sounds like. Now, tell me, what is this small business?
No, I mean, that is my
It
business, my
is. That
coaching.
is
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Excellent. Excellent.
so yeah, I love it. I love what I do. I love
Hmm.
helping people transform. I love
Hmm.
healing people and
Hmm.
seeing the changes in their life. And I'm part of a big community. There's
Hmm.
so many pranic healers out there all over the world. There's so many of my friends, and I practice my Arhatic Yoga with groups.
Hmm.
We have our own group that we practice with. So it's a vibrant community, and it's a community of beautiful souls that are just really working on their own inner work and trying to align with their true higher selves.
Hmm.
And I'm blessed to be part of that community as
Yeah.
well.
And you're running the business, of course, from your RV, and of course, operating as an operations manager for the association from your RV. So you're living the life, man. This sounds similar to what of course, I'm not living in an RV, but just being able to go through a period of discovery while running a business, but also, experiencing a kind of freedom that comes with living in an RV. For me, it's, finding out who I am, running a business, but also, experiencing a sense of freedom while I travel and explore all the different parts of the world. It reminds me of how this is just a really great stage of life to be in once you've gotten to the point where you've raised your children and now you're trying to figure out who you are while also experiencing freedom that you haven't felt probably since you were a child. And of course, you were a child, you didn't appreciate what we're experiencing now. So it's a really great time in our lives, and I'm so happy to have made it here, and I'm still healthy enough to enjoy it. Right. My question for you, Bob: what does an age has no limit life look like to you?
I think for me, it's like I said, I'm hitting a milestone this year,
Hmm.
60, right?
Hmm.
And that's it's coming up quick. It's August 2nd, but I feel great, with all the healings that I've done.
Hmm.
I feel as good or better than when I was in my 30s. So
Hmm.
I was talking about Verizon, and they were helping me with some tech. I was trying to set up a mobile hotspot, and they're like, "Well, do you have anybody there to help you? Like, do I sound like a frail old man?"
I know.
No, I'm not. But all this this work and changes in my life occurred, when I was 55. It's just taken my life into a whole different direction. I just tapped out of corporate America. It just
Hmm.
wasn't working for me. Why do I have to limit myself to staying in one place or living in one apartment? I'm young enough to travel. I'm young
Yeah.
enough to do everything that I need to do. I have the energy to do it. I have the drive to do it. It's not
Yeah.
like I want to turning 60. I want to go start picking out rocking chairs.
Yeah.
I got a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
and a lot to give. There are no limitations. The only limitations that we have are the ones that we put on ourselves.
Absolutely. And apparently also one of the ones that you have experienced and that you're helping your clients with is, addressing the self-labeling, helping them first see what they're doing, and then maybe probably helping them, figure out what are the labels that they want so that they can actually become that. So it's, this is fantastic, work that you're doing. Now, if you have a bucket list, whether you have one or not, what is one thing that you definitely want to accomplish? One thing you want to do that you're itching to do?
I don't have a bucket list. I'm
Hmm.
not really itching to do anything. I go. There's really nothing. If there was one, I did go. I was telling you about my ex-wife. We separated. She was
Hmm.
terminally ill for 2 years. Our
Hmm.
divorce finalized, and
Hmm.
then I started helping her with her
Yeah.
chemo, taking her to chemo. At the
Hmm.
Master Glenn said I should do that
Hmm.
for various reasons, but it really
Absolutely.
helped me. It helped heal me. It helped me learn
Hmm.
my triggers. But we went. Her bucket list was to go to African safari.
Hmm.
And so her sister was supposed to go with her. And then, like a week before, she broke her ankle or something and couldn't go. So she asked me to go. So I did go on this African safari with my
Hmm.
ex for 10 days. I mean, she was quite ill at the time, but it was such an amazing
Yeah.
trip to
Yeah.
just be in there and, seeing Mount Kilimanjaro, the Serengeti, the Massa tribes. I
Hmm.
mean, and of course, all the animals. It was,
Hmm.
just quite an amazing experience. So that was pretty good. I don't know. That's a tough one to top, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So my final question for you, well, actually, it's more about how the audience can learn more about you. So we want to definitely go back and make sure that everyone has the correct website. It is selfhelpcoachingllc.com. Is there anywhere else? Maybe you're on Facebook, anywhere else where, or on Instagram, where people can find out more about Bob, and of course his self-help coaching services?
Yeah, I'm on all the social media. I have,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, pretty much all self-help coaching LLC. You can pretty much find me anywhere. And of course, you can find my, clicking on my website, and you can catch my social media
Mm-hmm.
from there as well.
Yeah. So guys, remember it is selfhelpcoachingllc.com. I actually went to the site. At the bottom in the footer are all the places where you can find him, including his YouTube channel. And Bob, tell us a little bit more about your work. And before I just want to make sure we touch on this. I think it's a Bold Brave TV network. Tell me a little bit again about what you're doing there, your show. And I think you said you just were renewed for another 50 something episodes. So I think that's something we should definitely tap into before we sign off.
As I was saying, when you start have a vision for your life,
Mm-hmm.
and you're clear on the inside, because your outer world reflects your inner world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
and how we create. But yeah, Bold Brave TV contacted me. They're a station. They have all kind of different programming,
Mm-hmm.
Monday through Sunday, Sunday through Monday, however you want to look at the week.
Mm-hmm.
And they called me and asked me to host a show, a
Mm-hmm.
podcast. It's a live show. It's Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And the show is based on complementary healing modalities. So I interview guests from various modalities. I
Mm-hmm.
interview people, different spiritual people. I've had shamans on. Last night I had a trance channeler on.
Mm-hmm.
The different spirituality topics and
Mm-hmm.
holistic wellness. So um, yeah, I was signed on to do 24 episodes with them, and then they extended me to do another 52. So that's another basically years of podcasts. So the show's going well, and it's I'm not the guest. I'm the host. So
Yeah.
I love hearing and sharing
Mm-hmm.
what other people are doing. And one of my guests said it really well. It's like, we're leaving the light on for you. As a community of light workers, we just want to expose people to a lot of different things. And I said earlier, what resonates with them. So that's the goal of the show, is to just help people, who are searching to find something that they're searching for. They might not know it until they see it. That's what I was when I was at Tony Robbins and saw Master Co. I'm like, oh, I had that aha moment there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is why I'm here. This is what I need to do. And I haven't stopped since.
Yeah, wow. So, as a reminder, if you guys go looking for Bob's show, it is again called Greetings from the Ashram. And that's where you can find, that's the show that you can find on Bold Brave TV network. So, Bob, I really enjoyed learning about your background, where you've been, what actually caused you to go on this, so far 5 year self-exploration, and also use that opportunity to help your children and other people. So it's been very interesting learning about your life. So I didn't know if you wanted to end the show by, letting letting the listeners know a little bit more about the discovery call that you're offering. So I'll let you do that now.
Yeah, well, the discovery call, we want to just kind of find out what your goals are. What are you trying to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take some time doing that. We'll take a little time to do like a brief meditation to get a little bit of stillness. I'll throw in a 10-minute pranic healing session just to kind of get you'd be surprised. A 10-minute healing session could work wonders,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you haven't had one before. Most people, their energy bodies are probably congested or depleted or something, and if you've never had any energy work probably need it. And then I'll go over, I have standard programs. I have a 4-week quick start program to kind of help get you dialed in, and then a more advanced 8-week course or program. I'm also working on a course to sell that that'll make it even more affordable with a lot of the same techniques that I use, and that helps me to align with my higher self. I'm not going to, teach you Arhatic Yoga, but you gotta take, go through that process. But there's a lot of valuable tips, techniques to help get you moving in the right direction.
Well, thank you, Bob. So Bob lives in his RV. He's an empty nester who's running a business and also, of course, expanding and deepening his practice in our Arhatic Yoga, and of course, as a pranic healer. So, Bob, I absolutely believe you are yet another example of a person who believes that age has no limit.